So 2023, we are celebrating 50 years in hip hop, guys. And I want to delve into the history of gangster rap during this year of celebration of 50 years of hip hop. And we're going to go ahead and jump into this. And it's called The History of Gangster Rap. You can get it on Audible. And this is the story of Warren G. Let's check it out.
The main single from the soundtrack for the Tupac vehicle Above the Rim, which Death Row Records released in March 1994. Warren G produced Regulate, which lifted its velvety groove from Michael McDonald's I Keep Forgetting. The song's smooth, laid-back sonics and airy oral atmosphere stood in stark contrast to Warren G's rhymes about getting robbed at gunpoint for his jewelry.
Hmm.
Fortunately, for Warren G., Nate Dogg was there to regulate the situation by shooting the assailants. After their bodies dropped, Nate Dogg sang in his stoic style about how he and Warren G were able to resume pursuing women. A car full of them agreed to accompany the crooner to the fictitious East Side Motel. As the song concludes, Warren G puts his stamp on G-Funk, saying it is where rhythm is life and life is rhythm. Nate Dogg follows him by singing, "It's the G-Funk era,
With a
funked
gangster
out with a
twist.
gangster twist." Thanks in large part to the massive success of Regulate, the Above the Rim soundtrack sold more than 1 million copies in 2 months and more than 2 million copies in less than 6 months, making it a double platinum project for Death Row Records. As a single, Regulate sold more than 1 million
Wow.
copies in less than 4 months, making Warren G's first single a platinum certified smash hit and a great
And that
launching
was back
pad
when
for
people
his
used to
solo
have to
career.
go to the actual record store and buy a CD. There was no streaming. There was no. The only thing they even have. They ain't know there was no Napster back then.
Released on June 7th, 1994, Warren G's Regulate, G-Funk era branded the wave of gangster rap that Above the Law had been developing for years, and that
Hmm.
Dr. Dre had popularized through the immense success of his The Chronic album and Snoop Dogg's subsequent Doggy Style album. But Regulate, G-Funk era had a much different
Hmm.
lyrical tenor than the work of Above the Law, Dr. Dre, and Snoop Dogg, where the lyrics by those artists were regularly rife with testosterone-filled
Right.
episodes of a violent life on the streets, in which they often played the victor. Warren G took a wistful approach on many of his songs. With Do You See, for instance, Warren G rapped about the numbing effect of violence in his neighborhood, and how when Snoop Dogg was
Hmm.
incarcerated, he made a decision to stop selling drugs and pursue music in earnest. On Warren G's other big hit from Regulate G-Funk era, This DJ, he rapped over smooth, high-pitched keyboards about playing basketball and heading home once the streetlights came on. He augmented his
Hmm.
income by selling weed, but he wasn't portraying himself as a major baller or drug dealer.
Right.
Instead, it was a way for him to make money and enjoy the smaller moments in his life. Warren G's world was gangsta light, in a sense, a soft-spoken
Hmm.
compliment to the gruffer material being made by such musical partners as Nate Dogg and Snoop Dogg. Nate brought the gangsta melodies
Hmm.
to the game, Warren G said. Snoop brought the smooth gangsta style to the game. They've had an incredible impact. I'm the cool type. Although Warren G's musical sensibility wasn't as harsh, aggressive, and confrontational as the rest of the gangsta rap world, he is credited with showcasing a new layer of the experience with a different sound. That was just another side of what we brought to the table
Hmm.
as far as gangsta rap music, MC8 said. It was still a part of that. You had Above the Law, you had Warren G, you had Cocaine.
Right.
That was part of Dr. Dre, Eazy-E, that straight gangster era that we went through. Warren G's Regulate G-Funk era was a top seller, rivaling The
Hmm.
Chronic, the more acclaimed and culturally significant release from his stepbrother, Dr. Dre. The album sold more than 2 million
Hmm.
copies in 2 months and moved an additional 1 million copies by August 1995. With a combination of well-known associates, quality music, impeccable timing, and musical movement people could gravitate toward, Warren G became the flagship G-Funk artist. I think Warren G
Right.
exploded for it because he made it a lane, made it a movement instead of people just doing the music, Yuckmouth
Huh.
said. He said G-Funk. They were screaming that shit in every rap. They capitalized on it.
Mm-hmm.
They not only made the brand, made the word, made the movement, but the music. They made classic shit regulate one of the best G-Funk beats ever done. While the various practitioners of G-Funk were dominating radio, video, and the sales charts, another gangster rap movement was gaining traction in the San Francisco Bay Area. Mob music. The divergent Northern California rap scene made its first
I've
major
never
mark
heard
in the
of mob
mid-'80s thanks to
music. Is
Oakland's
that
Too
that's
Short
well
and his
maybe because I've
partner in
never been to
rhyme,
Oakland,
Freddie
so
B,
or the Bay
who
Area.
would
I've never heard of that mob music. Interesting.
hawk their homemade and later customized for consumers rap tapes on public transit. Soon thereafter, Too Short became a pioneering rapper from the area who was known not only for his groundbreaking music about the world of pimps, prostitutes, and sex, but who also delivered several socially aware and political songs. His often slow, stripped down, and sonically spare music contained funk elements thanks to the use of live bass guitars and keyboards, among other
Hmm.
things. Much like Southern California, Northern California was rocked by violence throughout the 80s and early 90s. Even though Southern
That's
California was
interesting
rife
that
with gangs
gangs
and
is a
Northern
big thing in
California
Southern
was not,
California, but not too much
it
on
suffered many of the
the northern
same
side. You know,
crime-related
it didn't
travails.
spread on that side. It's crazy, but it spread other places.
In Oakland, where the population was
Damn.
378,617, there were 140 homicides in 1994. While the harsh streets of Oakland were the topic of much of Too Short's music and helped push him to platinum success at the turn of the 90s,
Anyway,
other
y'all,
rappers from
I'm
the
just gonna
city had
let y'all go
different
ahead and
stories to tell.
listen to the rest of this on Audible. It's called A History of
Fellow
Gangster Rap. Figured I'll go ahead and give my reaction to it, being that it's the 50th year, it's the 50th anniversary of hip hop. People been, a lot of different award shows have been celebrating BET, and I think the Grammys even did a little something about hip hop, right? Yeah, the Grammys did. That's why I think that's what happened with Scarface and Willie D got into it. Y'all notice that Scarface is not even on the Get Up Boys podcast no more. I don't know whether he's back on there again. I haven't watched any recent episodes, but he was gone for a while. They kind of fell out over that, you know. Hope they patch things up, but it's one of my favorite groups, the Get Up Boys, coming up. But yeah, Warren G, man, that's crazy that Dr. Dre didn't sign him to Death Row, but he signed everybody else. That's kind of messed up. But Warren G was able to go off and find his own lane. It's good to Def Jam, even though he had the whole East Coast West Coast thing. It's good to Def Jam, well, that didn't come till later though, to like 96, 95, 96. Warren G had already got his deal with Def Jam before that happened, so. That's good that that didn't go down while he was getting this deal because he probably wouldn't have gotten it. But anyway, what do y'all think about the history of gangster rap? Leave your comments and subscribe to Charles and World. Y'all take care.